Hello and welcome to Connected, the art of virtual networking. This webinar has been brought to you by Designscape, which is the new networking event for the design community. And created by the minds behind GetCorrect, Design Junction, Sleep and Eat and KB Birmingham, this amazing new event takes place on August the 11th to the 13th and gives all those working in design the opportunity to not only expand their knowledge through our world-class conference program, discover new products in our extensive suppliers directory, but uniquely pre-arranged meetings with all the other Designscape delegates and also take part in one-to-one video speed networking. Hi, I'm Mark. I'm the Director of Sleep and Eat, KB Birmingham and Design Junction. And over the next half an hour, we'll be taking a closer look at how to be successful when it comes to the relatively new world of virtual networking. But don't worry, this webinar is not just 30 minutes of me waffling on and putting the world to rights. I have joining me two leading experts in this area, Karen Willey and Tobin from AlwaysThinking. Karen and Katie, hello, welcome. Would you like to introduce yourselves?
Katie, you go first.
I'm Katie. We're AlwaysThinking. We are a business development consultancy working within the built environment. So we work with architects, interior designers, suppliers, engineers, helping them understand how to do business development better, put together a business development strategy, and generally learn how to love business development, which not very many people say.
Yeah.
Cool. So we all know things have changed a lot. Some for the better, some for the worse, but certainly this has had a massive impact on things like business development. So, with all the changes that have happened, what has this meant for people trying to develop their business?
A lot of people put business development on hold. There was a bit of a pause. Now people want to get back to it, but obviously those opportunities for meeting people are fewer and far between in the way that people would normally do it. They might have probably been to events, Christmas, summer parties, etc. They'd have bumped into people, and those moments where you were like, oh, I saw such a body, great, that reminded you to send that email, it reminded you to do that business development activity that you were thinking about, has gone. And therefore you have to generate those moments yourself. And so it's kind of taken things, it's just changed things slightly in the way that you need to be prepared and you need to be planning and you need to be being more proactive, as opposed to allowing those little moments of opportunity. They're just not presenting themselves anymore for people.
Yeah, we always used to call it calculated serendipity, right? Where you would try and create these, these serendipitous moments, even though actually they were very, very calculated. And now you need to you need to plan even more. So much now is actually about that planning, and it's a really important time to do that now. You've got to think about it a lot harder.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So with all this, what you're talking about, about these moments and such, I mean, can we recreate these moments online?
Yeah. Well, you can recreate the opportunity. I don't know, you can have online moments. I mean, there's definitely an opportunity to share a moment with somebody online. I'm not sure, however you might choose to do that. It's not going to be the same as the physical interaction. But yeah, without a doubt, you can connect with some people and you can work with them and build a relationship. Yes, definitely.
I think what we've found interestingly during this time is that actually, everybody's in the same boat. So everybody has been so much more receptive to this kind of forum. And actually what it's meant is actually sometimes you've been able to get access to really senior people that in the normal world previous to this you haven't been able to. So actually it can work really in your favor. Yeah. And then I think another thing is that kind of in times of flux, you need to try new things, and actually kind of trying new things and innovating together is actually quite interesting.
It's quite interesting you say about trying new things then, because obviously, certainly with Designscape, for example, we're trying something very new that hasn't been seen. Certainly, we haven't seen it. And correct me if I'm wrong. Things like pre-arranging meetings, video meetings beforehand, but also things like the one-to-one video speed networking. I mean, what do you think about those kind of tools? Do you think that they will be valuable? Do you think they'll work?
So normally, when you go to an event, those tools are interesting in that they kick in just before. You know, people will download the app just before they get to the event. They'll look at the emails that people might have sent them, and they have their place. But I think now they're really important. I think they've actually. It's not about whether they work. It's about how much more important they're going to become. Because how else do you know who's within your group? Who's like, you know, they're actually going to become really, really critical, I think. Whereas at the minute, they're a bit of a sideshow to the actual main event. Whereas I think this gives this an opportunity for that digital to actually come up and actually become really critical.
Yeah, I think what, you know, the most important thing is the tools are there. It's about, you know, what is the right approach on those digital tools. You know, you've got to approach things in the right way digitally, and I think that, you know, that's really the most important thing. And, you know, and again, it comes down to that sort of importance of research and doing your research beforehand. You know, you have the ability now through these apps, because everybody will be on there so much more in advance, to see everybody else that's going and really sort of plan much better.
Okay, so go on, sorry.
Go on, I was just going to say another thing. I think it's also really important, you know, the main thing that we always say, people with these kind of apps, people kind of have a tendency to just kind of blanket everybody. And actually, that's not what you should do. You should be really targeted. And then through doing the research around those targeted people, it enables you to do a really tailored, bespoke approach for the right people. And I think that is going to be the key to success on these kind of digital networking platforms.
Yeah, don't email 200 people in the hope to get a meeting.
Well, I think that's also sort of quite relevant to when you're sending general emails out as well, isn't it? So, and I know we'll talk about a little bit later about sort of some top tips for that aspect. But I mean, this is all, we're talking very much about being proactive, but obviously with the platform that we've got, you know, people can ask you to meet as well. It's a fantastic tool, and I've been privileged enough to see it in action as well, and it really does work. I mean, alongside the being proactive side, I mean, how can people, I suppose, attract others to ask them, you know, cross that dance floor, if you like, and ask them out for a dance? You know, it's that kind of thing. How can you make yourself attractive?
Making yourself relevant to other people, how you might be thinking about how you might be able to help them, and actually putting that out there, as well as talking about the things that you're interested in and the things that, you know, rock your world and the thing that gets you excited. Well, then also, like, you know, you're looking to, would like to see, would like to meet, you know, do you want to be connected to, those kind of, that kind of putting that information out there, it allows people to see through the sort of the stuff of, you know, I'm great, this is me, aren't we good?
Yeah, I think also, you know, I know it's a bit of a cliche, but making sure that you have a good photo on there as well is also really important.
Yeah, don't put one of your dog on, or your kids, maybe. I mean, but obviously, but then also try and make sure you look friendly and you look like you know, some people would want to speak to you. And also, mind you, it's not quite as big now when people do that thing where they have a photo that's like 20 years them younger selves. Is always quite entertaining, just from an amusement factor. But, you know, you're looking for keywords, and I think those keywords where people are searching for people and searching for the business name, making sure, I mean, really basics, like make sure, sometimes when you go onto these databases, you'll have 4 different ways of somebody's written a business name. So you might have Marriott Limited, Marriott Hotels, Marriott Inc., Marriott this, and you're like, how do you, you know, so making sure there's that sort of consistency as well in the information, and that it's all there is also just practical, but really critical.
Yeah, I feel like I might have to go and revisit my LinkedIn profile photo. Right? It's me looking stern with all my children and my dog. Yeah.
Yeah. And is it you with hair?
Yeah, we've got massive ginger hair. Right. So in terms of, I mean, the real thing, and I think this is probably the reason why people will be watching this webinar, it's the tips. You know, you want to stand out, you want people to approach you, but you want to make sure that with that possibly limited number of meeting requests that we give you as part of the Designscape platform, you want to make sure that as many of those hit home. So it's a really good use of your time. So in terms of, our users, our visitors, our exhibitors, what tips would you give them about sort of approaching people and making sure that they do get to meet those prospective clients that they are so desiring?
Well, I think there's two things. There's the approach, and then there's when you get to meet somebody. So if we do, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think the approach, going back to what Katie said before about doing your research and doing your prep, have a look who's there, but then also have a look at what they do and read up about them and find where that link is. So rather than just pinging them an email that talks all about yourself and all about what you can do and how great you are, actually flip that and have a think about them. What's interesting for them? Where's their business at? What are they doing? And actually, what's that link that you have that could be quite interesting for them? You might have people in common that you know. You might have done a project way back when in another world. You might have written a thought piece that would be really useful. You think they might be engaging in. Actually approach them with questions and content that is going to engage them in the conversation, not just talking about yourself.
Yeah. And then I think that goes through to actually, if and when you get the meeting, and I know, particularly when you do your speed networking as well, the danger of that speed networking is you have 5 minutes, and people try and sell themselves in 5 minutes. And actually the advice that we would give is do not try and sell yourself in 5 minutes. You can't, and also you shouldn't be hard selling in that environment. It is all about building relationships as opposed to selling. So it's a much more about that relationship building, consultative kind of sell. And the only way that you can do that is by asking questions. And then the most important thing is listening, So I don't know, Karen, maybe should we think about some questions that would be good to ask?
Yeah, I mean, we always get we disappear down like research rabbit holes, like Katie, but have you seen this? And have you seen this? And have you seen? Oh my God, look at this! And you literally you look for that link, and suddenly you find it, and then you're like, and it becomes quite obvious then what to talk to the person about, because you're like, I saw this article, I thought you were really interested. We've written this article about that. There's definitely a link. It'd be lovely to have a 5-minute conversation with you during the course of the event, or they might do a talk during the event. You can follow up with an email and do that, or you might say, look, is there an opportunity to just catch up during the day? Because otherwise it is going to be a day of passive learning. So actually this opportunity allows you to get back that networking feel of an event, which I think is really important. And just looking for that genuine interest, I think, is really critical. Be actually genuine about your interest in them.
Yeah. I think, again, particularly in that speed networking environment, the thing that people tend to try and revert to is that elevator pitch, which makes me shudder, because if you're doing an elevator pitch, then you're just talking at somebody. And the whole point of that speed networking is a two-way conversation, and actually you get to know each other. And it's really important to think about, what information do I want to try and get out of this conversation? How can you help each other? So I think it's that's the most important sort of tip that we can give you.
And how do you want that person to go away feeling? So let's say you've got 35, 40 minutes of speed networking, and you're all, hello, man, blah, 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 blah. How do you that person's going to go away not feeling engaged or inspired? And you want people to feel part of the process. So you've got to think about what it is that how are you going to make them feel to actually come on and go, oh, hello, and actually have a conversation with somebody. Don't pitch at them, because they're not going to enjoy it, and you're not going to enjoy it, and you're not going to get any gauge of how it actually was.
And actually, on that comment about enjoying it, I don't think there's many people in this world that would say that they enjoy networking, or but I think the more that you can be yourself and find your way, and then the more you're going to feel comfortable in it. If you're trying to be something that you're not, and you're trying to follow a script or an elevator pitch, then it's not going to come across as being genuine. And I think that is the most important thing, is, you know, you're trying to find people, like we said, people that you like, and that can, you know, potentially be friends and allies in this industry, and, you know, and that you want to work with. So I think that's really important.
Yes, focus on the relationship and not the sell. So that's what people always focus on. I've got to sell something. It's like, no, you've got to build a relationship so that person trusts you, and then that they will want to engage with you and work with you and have a long-term relationship with you. You don't have to sell anything. That's for another time and day. It is not for 5 minutes on speed networking.
Exactly. You're not sell something in 5 minutes. But what's most important then about that is that then after that 5 minutes, after that meeting that person, you do your follow-up. You know, that is the most important thing. So, you know, at the end of meeting that person in 5 minutes, you know what your follow-up action is going to be. And the more interesting a conversation that you have had with them, the easier that follow-up is going to be, because, you know, you don't want to just send them a really boring generic email which everyone else is going to send, which are, lovely to meet you, here's our brochure, da 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 da. You know, if you can relate it back to a really, you know, a great conversation that you've had, then that follow-up is going to be much easier, and you're going to get better results off the back of it.
Yeah, I mean, no one buys a brochure. They want to buy they want to work with a person, and they're going to enjoy that interaction with that person, and that they think that you're going to look after them, and that you're going to be there for the long term, and you're going to help them build their buildings or work with their, you know. So it's all about that. So just focusing on that, and those 5 minutes that you've got, or that reach out that you're doing, just think about how you want them to feel, and how do you want, you know, and also what information do you want to know. So then we've got to go back and report back and say, oh, I did 10 minute speed days, and I found these things out. They work with this supplier, and they work with this supplier because they like these things. They do this because they like that. You know, so think about those questions that you can engage people with. If you don't work with somebody, I wouldn't try and sell to them. I'd say, who do you work with and why? Oh, okay. So why do you work with that supplier? What do they do? Well, I've got a great relationship with them. Oh, okay. Or if you do work with them, when was the last time you saw us? How's it been in lockdown? What can we do now to engage with you more? Like, I know it's going to be hot, you know, so solve their problems for them. I think we always say that when we're talking.
I think it's a really good time to start talking to people. It's almost like the industry is reset. You know, people are open to new things. They have to be, because this is a different world than what it was 4 or 5 months ago. But I think from where we would go, you know, as the organisers of these events, we would actually relate them back to, okay, if you go to a networking event, an industry networking event, who was it at that event that you remembered the last time? Why did you remember them? Can you be that person? You know, the way that person made you feel, you know, the way that they conducted it, can you replicate that? Yes, be yourself, but you want to try and be memorable. You want to sort of stand out and be human.
Yeah, but I think the words memorable and stand out drive people to feel like they have to be a bit jazz, like, hi, yeah, hi. No, just have a proper connection with someone. Try and have a, you know, and then also if you have a proper connection with them, that email will be so much more memorable, because that subject line will be about the thing that made you laugh, that connection that you had, the thing, you know, it will be more about that than it will be about you being, you know, that sort of the big person in the room, if that makes any sense.
It does. So in terms of sort of the tips, I mean, is there sort of one out of that, because obviously there's quite a few sort of nuggets there that were absolutely amazing, but I mean, is there something that you would say, look, if you only had to focus on one thing, that will make you more successful, not just in the speed networking, but actually when you're, you know, having these one-to-one meetings, these pre-arranged ones?
I think for me, it's about thinking about the questions to ask people. You know, so what information do you want to know, and then therefore what questions should you be asking?
Yeah, and I think I completely agree with Katie, and then also about thinking about them and not you. So while you're there, just being client centric. So if you can do that bit of research so you know about their projects. Oh, I saw that project that you did, really lovely, great, really nice. What did you do with it? So having that knowledge to engage them in a conversation is really, really useful. So if you know everybody who's going to be in the speed dating and you know, have a quick read about people, just know stuff, you know, and then don't try and tell people, but use it to actually, you know, focus on a conversation.
I think from myself, well, I'm going to cheat because I can, and I have two. One is people like talking about their work and themselves.
Yeah.
So giving them the opportunity to do that, and straight away you will build that rapport with them, and it will just make a much better experience, not only for you but for them. More importantly, my second one is no jazz hands. You obviously saw me at the last Sleep and Eat walking along the aisles. So I'm going to have to keep that down to a bare minimum, but I'm not promising anything. And certainly if I see you guys on the speed networking, I will say hello. Okay, is there anything else that you feel that you'd like to add at all? Or because I think that's probably a sort of good place to sort of pause it.
No, I think just be yourself and enjoy it and find people who you like. Yeah. And you will find people you like digitally. You can do it and you can build those relationships, and it can lead to you doing very interesting things together. And just don't be, a bit like any networking, any business development, the more you put in, the more you you know, just be consistent and actually do put that work in beforehand and do put the work in after, and then focus on the people. You'll get a lot of it. You'll get a lot out of it.
Fantastic. My last thing is, everyone is in the same boat. We're not all experts at this virtual networking. We're all in it together. And I think we're very lucky to be in a community that there is that feeling that we're all in it. We're all banding together, and just make the most of it.
Yeah, so and that's a great opener. You know, that's a great finding that common thing. We've all got something in common at the minute. Everybody across the world has something in common. There is a common conversation. So, you know, it's not just the weather anymore.
Well, thank you very much for that. what a place to stop that. If obviously you're going to do some other bits and pieces, I think you're going to put a blog together, which obviously do look out for that if you're more interested in finding out more about these tips. But if anyone wanted to get hold of you guys at Always Thinking, where would they go?
Okay.
I mean, you know, you can have a look at our website, alwaysthinking.org. All our details are on there. Drop us an email. Have a look at our Instagram and LinkedIn as well. We're always talking as well as always thinking. So if you do want to talk to us, drop us a line.
Yeah.
Well, Katie, Karen, thank you very much for taking the time to sort of be part of this and helping out our future delegates. In terms of Designscape, hopefully we'll see both of you there, and you're welcome. I'll let you in this time, just this one. But if for all those that haven't registered yet, do look out for the registration link, which should be, I'm assured, after we stop this video or underneath. If it's not, don't blame me. I'm not the tech person. I've just been told to do that or that. So hopefully we will see you all there on the 11th, 13th. Don't forget also that Sleep and Eat and Decorex will be virtual in November as well. Very similar platform. But please, please, please do come to Designscape. Karen, Katie, thank you very much. And we'll see you virtually in August.